stay here. I risk everything. I leave everything behind. Salud por nuestros sueños.
Или потому что я сильна.
¡España!
Πάμε, κύριε Καράλη. Η τράπεζα έχει επιβάλει αναγκαστική κατάσχεση επί της ιδιοκτησίας σας.
Μην τα αφήνεις στο μαγαζί μόνο του, φύγε.
Όλα θα πάνε καλά, μην ανησυχείς.
Τι παραφέτη είναι αυτό που έφτιαξες?
Τι λες κάνεις? Αν έχετε την καλοσύνη σας παρακαλώ, μην αγγίζετε λίγο.
Μόνο αντρικά, γυναικεία δεν έχετε τίποτα.
Ένα καινούργιο πόσο κοστίζει?
Το φθηνότερο ύφασμα που έχω, κύριε, κοστίζει 110 ευρώ το μέτρο.
Τι κάνεις εδώ? Τι ριζιλίκια είναι αυτά? Άντε φύγε από εδώ.
Ράβεις νηφικά! Εκεί.
Όχι, όχι, δεν ράβω νηφικά. Ναι, ναι, ράβω. Μπορώ να ράψω νηφικό.
Θέλω να μάθω να ράβω καλά.
Να μάθω τα γυναικεία γούστα.
Με έχεις κάνει ρεντίκολο. Φυκάνει για τις μοδίστρες. Εμείς είμαστε ράφτες.
Τέλειο.
Μπορώ να σας κάνω ό,τι θέλετε.
Πλούσια μπορείς να με κάνεις?
Μπορώ να σας ράψω ένα φόρεμα με μεγάλες τσέπες.
Νίκο.
Hi, hello everyone. Good evening, everyone in Jakarta, and good afternoon to Miss Sonia Liza Kenterman. Thank you for joining our Europe on-screen film talk session for today. And tonight in Jakarta, we will have a session with Miss Sonia Liza Kenterman, the director of one of my favorite films in the festival is Tailor. It's a Greece film that has a very specific and unique delivery and its storytelling. But before we start with the webinar, please allow me to just explain the rule of the webinar itself. So everything right now is being broadcasted live in our YouTube account of Europe on Screen, and the session is being recorded. So all the participants are muted so that the speakers can speak more freely. And if the participant wants to ask the speaker questions, you can put it directly into the Q&A button below. please don't put it in the chat button. So just put it directly on the Q&A button below. And if you want to ask Miss Sonia in Indonesian language, please do so. I will help you to translate them. And this session will be conducted in English. So good afternoon, Sonia. How are you doing?
Hello. Many greetings. Did you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I hear you well. So yes, my
I'm
name is Menina Putri. You can call me Putri. I'm the festival co-director of Europe On Screen 2021, and I will be your host, your moderator for this session. I understand that you are right now is actually attending another film festival. Is that correct?
Now I'm in Austria. I'm in Vienna because the film is getting a cinematic release. It's going out in the cinemas in Austria. So
Congratulations.
I'm very happy. And we had a very nice premiere yesterday. So I'm still very excited. And of course, I would be extremely excited if I could be there with you.
Yes.
Also,
I mean, we will be happy to receive you here too. So, how was it? How was the premiere in Vienna? How was the audience response yesterday?
it was very nice because we had a very long Q&A, and the audiences made very nice questions. So it's generally a film that has been doing very well in German-speaking audiences, let's say, because it's out in the cinemas for the fifth week in Germany. So it's a very exciting time, and well, I'm very happy that that this film has been able to cross a lot of borders. So this is the biggest challenge, I think, for every film.
Yes, I agree with you on that. So, what was your first inspiration in making Tailor?
Well, initially, I wanted to write a story reflecting on the financial crisis of Greece, which started a few years before I was writing the script. And I felt that it was a very big changing moment for my generation. I say that because I feel that for my generation is probably the first historical moment we experienced. And then when with Tracy, my co-writer, we started really evolving our idea. We also were very interested in dealing with crafts which are disappearing. So that's why we also chose tailoring.
So this is why you want to put the tailoring instead to also reflect what happened.
Yes. Well, it is a craft that, I mean, it's decaying and dying, and it feels like a luxury anyhow, despite of the financial crisis. But as in every country, not only in Greece, every economical crisis will influence the independent middle class shop owners first.
Yeah, okay. And also, I'm so fascinated with how Nikos also very paying meticulous in details, especially in the fabric. I was just wondering, were you also a fashionista, also someone that concerned, or maybe you have a background on the fashion designing?
Well, I love clothes, but not just, I don't have too many clothes, and I don't like, having so much of everything. But I feel that what we wear is really how we identify and how we introduce ourselves to the world. And what is very fascinating about tailoring, I must admit that myself, I've never sewn a dress, uniquely made for me, unfortunately, not yet. But what I admire is that people who really wear tailoring made clothes are people who want to stand out and have a unique style. And that's a big difference to the general movement of fast fashion, and it's interesting how just alike. They don't want to stand out and they don't want to differentiate. So that was, in terms of fashion, that was something that was for me very interesting.
Yes, it is. And Sonia, I think right now we cannot hear you at this moment.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, right now, no, but maybe maybe it will help if you also can turn off the camera, the video, so that it will help with the connection.
Okay, I will do that. Just a moment. Okay, is it any better now?
Yes, now it's better. Now we can hear you well.
Okay, good.
Great. So yes, and also what was the I admire how Nikos also adapted to the way how to basically to continue his father's work and going to bring the tailor directly on the street and meeting all these people. I mean, he's being this, I mean, not really out there, and then he has to push himself out there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. Yes. So all right, because I cannot hear you before. So yes, so what was that also part of the decision that you take by making Nikos it's because he is not out there yet, and Nikos actually has also very limited conversation with others. In fact, the relationship that he had probably only with that little girl.
Yeah, well, I think Nikos is, although he's 50 years old, it feels that he is, the child is very much alive in him. So that's why we also chose that his best friend, and basically it seems that his only social connection to the world is this 80-year-old child who's very clever and very noisy. And I think even for him, she's the one who, she's the coach he has made first. So it's as if he has created this big live toy. And Nikos has been shuttered for many years from the outside world. And being still living under the shadow of his father,
Yeah.
He seems that he doesn't have any social connections, that he doesn't have affairs, he doesn't have
Human relationship.
friends. But I think because exactly because the child is very much alive in him, and he seems to be a bit childlike and even a bit naive in a good sense. This is why he can be a traveling salesman without feeling shy and without feeling that what he does is somehow derogatory. So he connects with people through his work, and I think the craft is basically his vehicle in order to escape from this microcosm and be able to take life in his hands for the first time.
Yes, and somehow it's also freeing for him to be out there and
Exactly.
to reconnect. So like you, yeah, like is it like a coming of age, but for old people?
Exactly. I agree totally. It's a coming of old age story.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
it's interesting that you said that this is what makes him free, because in a very strange way, his father's sickness, which makes him go to the hospital and he has to stay at home, is for him a way of liberation. because for the first time, he can actually do things without being judged all the time.
Yeah, that's true. Is that also a kind of a symbolic or representative of what happened with the society or culture in Greece?
For sure. Well, we have to always remember that, and I'm sure it applies in other countries too, that Greece is a very traditional country, and it's a very traditional in terms of the way the economy works, but also in terms of relationships work. And the father and son, and generally parents and children relationship, it's something that's very strong, and it's well, I think people in Greece have to really try much harder in order to be able to become more independent from their parents. So it is definitely true that until recently, it was a given that a child would carry on the profession of the father, especially if that was a successful business. And it's very, very difficult to break through from tradition in Greece. And it is also a very patriarchic society. So I think all that reflects to the relationship between the father and the son, Nikos. But I would also like to say that it's not just a very gloomy and harsh relationship, because at the same time, they share a common loss. So these two men, they are witnessing a business and a craft being kind of demolishing. So they are partners in loss and in grief. So this is something that brings them together as well.
Yes, I think that can be shown with all the little details that you put in the films, like how his fathers tried to also protect Nikos and then also to show him the way it done for the business. But it is also interesting when you said that in Greece, family also the value of family is very close to the children, and it's also feel the similarity with here in Indonesia, where the children are so much attached also with the family.
Exactly. I suspect that perhaps our cultures have more in common than we probably think.
Yes.
And also it's families, and it's also it's like valuing a tradition. And I'm sure that in Indonesia and in all more traditional societies, it's difficult for children not only to abandon the craft from that they inherited from the parents, but also it's so difficult because it feels almost as if they're betraying their parents.
Yes.
So this is it's like both ways. So that's why perhaps these connections are so strong and so difficult to break.
Yes. There is a kind of like a guilty feeling, I think, between the relationship of the parents and the children too. Is it also like a common cultural value in most of the Mediterranean countries in Europe, especially the one with
Yeah,
the
for sure.
tropicals?
Yes. It's as you said, it's the Mediterranean countries, definitely Italy, a bit of Spain for sure. We share a lot in common with all these countries. But you know, there are of course things in these very, very strict, close relationships. But at the same time, having been raised in a Greek family, I also feel very lucky because I've been brought up with a lot of love and support, not just from my immediate family, but also from my extended family, the cousins, the uncles, and so on. And I feel very lucky for that. And it's almost like it gives you a sort of power to know that there are many people who will be there for you. And it's also acknowledgement. When you succeed in something, you feel that you have the appreciation of your family, and that's something very strong.
Yes, like the whole clan approves you and appreciates you more.
Yes.
And also about the soundtrack, I understand that you also received like a best music for in the Hellenic Awards for this film.
Yeah. Yes.
I would like to know how was the process for the soundtrack itself? Do you collaborate with many local musicians, or you had it in mind on what particular scenes have to be inserted some music scoring or something like that?
Well, the music composer of the film, Nikos Kypourgos, is a very renowned and an excellent music composer in Greece. And the film is definitely, in the universe of his music. So first of all, we spend a lot of time discussing about the film and about the hero. And I think that the music composer and the actor of the film are the two people who get it 100%. And sometimes I used to tell him, and we laughed about it, that he's almost the hero. He understands this hero so well because he shares so much in common with him. And so it was very easy for him to get into this world. His idea was that it would be very interesting that every piece of music starts from a real sound which the character is making. So the first soundtrack we hear, it's really following the pedal and the rhythm of the sewing machine. And we follow this motif all over the film. And so the idea was, basically this man, the character Nikos, he's spending all his life in isolation, which is his choice, of course. But he has no friends and no companions. So the sounds he makes and sewing as well is his only companion. So we were thinking that all these rhythms and music that comes in the film is almost as if it's the personal soundtrack of the character. It's like what he hears in his mind.
Yes. And watching your film now, I understand what is the sound of a sewing machine and how you cut your fabric, and somehow that also reflects the the solo or the loneliness that actually Nico's feeling. And then he was also very meticulous about that while he's cutting the fabrics, because the fabrics were his basically main friends, because he was like always accustomed with that. So this is really interesting to hear, and it's a really nice choice of also deepening the character of Nikos itself.
Yeah, thank you. Sewing is the only thing that keeps him on track. So he needs to keep sewing because otherwise he has absolutely nothing. He's a very creative person. He's almost like an artist, like a painter. Somebody who, if he doesn't keep his hands occupied and if he doesn't create something, then there is no life outside of that for him.
Yes, that is also like the way he communicates with the world out there, I think.
Exactly.
He used the medium for that. Yes.
Yeah,
So,
I like what you said very much, because I think that not only through sewing he's able to overcome his shyness and actually go out and try to find customers, but also when he sees someone, he sees his body shape, his gestures, his posture, what he wears, what could he wear. So it's like clothes and sewing is what you said, it's like how he can understand people and approach them.
Yeah, I think, and this is why also he met the lady that he met for the first time he met someone that, oh, okay, now we can reconnect for that terms. So yes, we have now questions from our audience. I'm going to read them out to you. One is from Leonardo Chandra. What is the subliminal message from this film? And also, how can we spread the love just with the sewing of the clothes?
Very nice question. I think that what I want to say about with this film is that even people who seem to be outcasts and who seem to be defeated from the world, they can also find a way to take a future in their own hands and find a way to reinvent themselves.
I think you answer it perfectly. That's basically what we can learn from Nico's character and from all the films too. Even including the character supporter, the lady who wants to have the wedding dress and everything. That's actually submit something, giving something to the world as well. So Leonardo has also asked in Indonesian language. I'm going to translate them to you. So basically he was asking the same, like what I just asked you, like what kind of message that we as Indonesian person can learn from the film. And he was asking, is there any specific detail from Nico's life actually that we here as the audience can basically apply it in our daily life? Oh, that's an interesting question actually. What do you think? What part of the Nico's life that we can actually apply in our daily life?
In our daily life,
I know how to cut. Now by watching your film.
What else? That success is not always measured by general social standards. So if we really objectively think whether he's successful at the end and whether he's happy at the end, we could easily say that because he's not making enough money and he didn't manage to maintain this establishment, the tailoring shop that his father had founded. But I personally think that he's very happy and successful because he has found his own personal way of what success means. And to me, this is the biggest struggle of our generation.
Yes.
Because the standards are very, very tight and specific. But the majority of people do not fit in these standards. I don't fit in these standards either. So somehow success has to be personalized. Otherwise, we cannot continue living and be happy. So this is for me what's really important about the main character. And I hope that is something that we could bring in our daily life. Because, every day you can feel that you are successful or not. So it's also your perspective to the world.
Yes, I agree with you. I mean, when you said that we have to personalize our success, it cannot be in the same form as other people. I mean, look at Nikos. He's very resilient in his way, going down to the street, bringing all the tailor and everything. So I think this is the spirit that we can also learn, like not easily to give up. Yes. So yes, that was from Leonardo. And now there's also a question from Bambang Junaidi. Hi, Sonia, you made such a delightful film. I love it so much. And I have a newly found appreciation towards clothing and clothes after watching your film. So how did you decide on the costume design for the film? Because they are very gorgeous.
Thank you very much. It's a great compliment. I've been thinking about the clothes since we started writing the script. Well, there are two worlds. There is this strict men's world of men's costumes. And this is a world which also Nikos represents, his father as well. But he also made two and the idea is that he has chosen this style which he thinks is the best for him, and it almost works like a shield. It's like a cover for him. He can hide almost inside underneath this costume. And then it's the complete opposite world of the costume he himself sews for the brides. And that's almost outrageous and very shiny and glittery and completely different, and I think unexpected from what we see when when you see him. You would never believe that this man would create these wedding dresses. So for me, it's his inner world, like inside him, in his mind, he would like to be like an haute couture, Galliano type of of a
Dress,
fashion designer. So he finds,
extravaganza.
yeah, it's like extravagant. But this is also how we all are. So some people may look very outgoing and very sweet and nice, but actually if you meet them, they can be the complete opposite. So it's contradictions.
Yes, that's also pushing him out of the box with the wedding dress. That's very like
Exactly.
I think that's also surprised Nikos as in characters too. Like, oh wow, I could make this. That's really something.
Yeah, you're right. Maybe he's also surprised from himself.
Speaking of Nikos, the next question is actually about how the actor himself to get into the character. So, hello, Miss Kenterman. Were there any difficulty in directing Mr. Dimitris Imelos in order for him to get into the character?
Not difficulties, because we had a lot of fun working together, and it was a challenge because Dimitris had to learn a craft. Of course, he cannot sew professionally, but he had to learn all the basics, the basic movements, the posture of a tailor, and even cutting fabric is something that he had to learn. It's very difficult. Even unfolding a fabric is very challenging. So he had to work very hard, and he had to be a very, very good student, and he's an excellent student. And he had all the will to learn as much as possible. The very interesting thing about Dimitris is that he's a great actor in Greece and very renowned, but he's also a great teacher. So for at least 20 years now, he teaches in 3-4 different drama schools per year. And one of his favorite class is a craft. So for a whole year, he asks every student to pick up one craft and just follow it and build a character around this one craft. So when he read the script, he told me about this class that he has. And he was very, very happy because this is something that he truly believes, that he really believes that a way to build a character is through a profession.
So it basically fits with how he teaches class. Wow, that's something that's really, really interesting also. Do you also have like a kind of a funny moment or remarkable experience during making the film?
And well, the most remarkable experience was how patient I had to be until we actually started pre-production. That's the most difficult part, and waiting, and just keeping the idea alive, and not just alive but vivid, because I really wanted to make this film, and it was very, very, I had very strong feelings about this story. So to maintain this enthusiasm can be a challenge after, you can imagine how difficult it is to raise funding from a country like Greece. But from the pre-production until we finalized the film, of course, there were many difficulties, but I was truly happy. So, I could deal with everything. That was the least of my issues.
This is really interesting that also funding could be also something that challenging from your country, because here in Indonesia, funding a film, a feature film, not only feature but also short film is also something that we have as a challenge too. So, okay, there's another question coming. It's actually from Abdul Aziz Muhammad. He was asking, clearly Athens is being shot in very specific ways and plays a very important role in your story. How did you want to portray Athens and bring Athens as a character into your story?
Yeah, well, the city is almost like another character of the story, because he has been away. It's like almost he has been hiding from the city for such a long time. So when he goes out, finally, he's being reintroduced to this city. And it was interesting for me to try and find a way to, to film Athens through his eyes. And that is mostly details. Because as you mentioned earlier, the way to connect with people is through clothes and fabrics. Well, and then so it's basically for him to understand and approach anything is through details. So even regarding the city, the way to get accustomed to the city and feel comfortable within the city was trying to really grasp the details. And it was also important for me to really show the Athens center, but also how he navigates through the different areas and different classes of Athens and the inhabitants. So he starts from Athens and the city center, but then he goes to the suburbs of Piraeus, which is the port close to Athens.
Yeah.
And there it's a completely different world, and with different buildings and different people and different characters and different mentality. So that was also something that was very important for me.
I've always wanted to go to Greece, especially to Athens, but now seeing your films actually intrigued me more to go there, especially the port area where you mentioned earlier. So, and how Nikos venture out, it feels like he's traveling also in the very first time in his own city. This is really interesting to see, and also it's like reconnecting us to the pandemic. Like we were stuck in the house, and then when we go out again to see our city, we have a different perspective on it.
Yeah, it's I was thinking, because we finished the film, like all post-production process, the first 2 weeks of the beginning of the pandemic. And it was interesting to me to make this connection between Nikos and his tailoring shop on wheels, and then this business on the go, this mobile business model, which started flourishing during the pandemic, because we were all locked inside.
Yeah.
So shops were closed, and shop owners had to find a way to bring their goods to the customers. So in Greece, and I'm sure in other countries, a lot of businesses went mobile. So, they had like mobile bookstores. So there was this bookstore chain which hired many bicyclists, and they would just cycling from one place to the other, delivering books. So yeah, it's interesting how things change. It's like a big pandemic, which of course is one of the, I mean, the most changing and terrifying things that we have experienced the last years, but proved to us perhaps that traditional ways of commerce may also be valuable in our days too.
That's true. We need to venture out, even in our way, to adapt with this pandemic and to live side by side with it.
Exactly.
Yes. Okay, I think we have already covered all of the questions from the audience, Sonia. Maybe right now, my last question to you: has the film actually been seen by the people in Athens, in your own country?
Yes, we had our cinematic release beginning of June.
Mm-hmm.
And it was playing in cinemas in Athens for 3 weeks, but then it also went in all open air cinemas around Greece.
Oh, that's so nice.
So in various villages and the islands and so on. So it was very nice. I'm very happy that the film I mean, that the audiences could actually watch the film.
Mm. I understand right now you are basically traveling more to Europe to premiering the film too.
Yes.
Do you also have something in mind for your next project that probably you can share with us?
Well, we had a lot of time during the pandemic and the lockdown to think. So with my co-writer, Tracy Sunderland, we started writing a new script, which this time it takes place mostly in Germany. And we will continue writing and trying to get it off the ground.
Cool. We are looking forward for your next film, the next project, and we wish you all the best of luck for your next film. But before that, the host of the session is actually cueing us to take a photo. So Panji,
Shall I
maybe
put the video on?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Okay, I will take a photo at 3 and 1, 2, 3, and one more time. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Panji. So, Miss Sonia Liza Kenterman, thank you so much for participating in our film talk and also for having your film to be screened here in Indonesia. We would also like to thank to the Greece Embassy in Indonesia for bringing the film here in Europe on Screen 2021, and also for our all festival partners and media partners, especially Geometry, for supporting the films and to promote them in all the press coverage that we have. And thank you, Sonia. I wish you all the best of luck, and thank you, and good luck also with your premiering in Vienna in Austria. So for
Thank
all
you
of
very much.
Thank you, and I hope to see you later on in the future in a physical festival.
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you so much, and I wish you a good weekend. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So yes, everyone, thank you so much for attending our film talk tonight with Miss Sonia Liza Kenterman, the film director of Tailor. The film has just been screened yesterday and is still available to be watched in festivalscope.com. Please book your tickets before it run out. And also for tonight's winner on the film talks goes to Mr. Abdul Aziz Muhammad. Our team will contact you on how you will get the package from the Europe on Screen 2021, and our team will contact you for further details. So thank you, everyone. And tomorrow, actually in 3 minutes, our festival hangouts will start at the Twitter space. And tomorrow we still have a lot of film talk session with a lot of European filmmakers, which the film has been screened in our festival this year. And Right now, I wish you a good evening, a good rest, and me, Putri, signing off from Europe On Screen 2021 Film Talk. See you tomorrow. Ciao.